Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen with the 9th day of the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo 2953. It is RSI day. There's some cool ships to see. I think it's effectively the last manufacturer day at the IAE, but there's still more. Tomorrow will be Best in Show, where they'll be showing off the winners of the ship showdown, and then I think the rest of the IAE after that until the 30th is basically the finale, which will have you being able to rent all the previous ships from terminals in here and some other cool stuff to show you as well. But we're looking at RSI today, and as we can see here, there's a lot of constellations. That's the sort of main feature in the main room. We've got the standard sort of constellation Andromeda here. Now, it's interesting because I say the standard one, but there is a stripped-down version of the Taurus. We'll come to that. So, Andromeda, basically, the constellations in general. The Starfarer Andromeda? What? I think it might supposed to be, say, the constellation Andromeda. Weird typo there. Interesting. So the Constellation series of ships are these medium-sized, multi-crew, multi-role ships that they all specialise in an area a little bit more than others. But sort of the things they have in common are a reasonable cargo bay that can store a vehicle. So like an Ursa rover. They have the ability to dock with, or a P-52 or P-72, the little tiny snubs, have the ability to parasite dock with them and sort of be carried around by them. And some of them, some of the different constellations basically come with those vehicles as standard. But the Andromeda is the slightly more combat-y variant, but it's got room for several crew. I think they're 4 crew, I believe, 4 cruise ships. But it's got they're good range. They can do a bit of everything in game. They've got your P-52 there, and here's where you'd have your Ursa rover / cargo. But yeah, they're pretty good in a fight. They're relatively durable. They've got a load of armament, and they're sort of like one of the earlier multi-crew ships that they put in game. Over here, I believe we've got the Aquila, which is basically the exploration version, so better exploration, sort of scanners. That's the main thing it's got going on there. Better detection, better radar. Longer range is the idea, potentially. Again, you've got basically all the similar features that you have of the other constellations, though. And there's just a very slight taste difference. So, Andromeda, more combat-y. Aquila, more explory. You've got the Phoenix over here, the more luxury, but it's also one that people would say, well, actually, it's sort of like if you had a choice of Phoenixes, or a choice of constellations, you might as well go for the Phoenix, because it sort of has fantastic components and facilities. It's got like a bar on it and a little swimming pool, a jacuzzi. It's got a P-72 rather than a P-52. Does it come with a Lynx rover rather than an Ursa rover? Things like that. But it's your luxury version. It's yeah, and you'll be able to do like potentially VIP transportation missions with it as well. But it's going to be suitable for all the other things that you could do with the constellations. But potentially, I think a higher tier, in my opinion. And there's certainly going to be slight differences between them. But, and then you've got the Taurus. And the Taurus basically is the slightly more stripped down version, dropping a turret and getting an increased bay size. I don't think it comes with P-52 or as a rover or anything as standard. But yeah. So if you want a more stripped down constellation, but it's got most of the same features, then the Taurus might be for you. Really like the constellations and what they sort of stand for in game. Sort of one of the quintessential multi-crew medium ships. Is this the Mantis? It looks different from this angle. So here we've got the Mantis, which is a quantum interdiction ship that basically does both quantum dampening and quantum snaring. So quantum dampening prevents you from going into quantum when you're within its area. And quantum snaring will pull you out of quantum when you get within a certain area of the ship. And the idea here is that you'd use this to trap or sort of pull miners or cargo ships out of quantum and then hold them to ransom or attack them, or you'd lawfully you'd be doing that to criminals, and you'd be like trying to intercept them or whatever. It's a ship that you need to go and deal with if it's in an enemy sort of wing, because otherwise you'd have no ability to escape properly. The way that interdiction and the sort of that sort of stuff might change in the future. They've talked about things like you not being able to quantum boost, or not even potentially able to cruise if you're being quantum dampened. So we'll sort of have to see how that plays out in the future. It looks a bit like the Defiant, I think, from Star Trek. We've got the Scorpius over here. So the Scorpius is a heavy fighter, two-seater. It's like an X-Wing. So this folds out, and it looks like an X-Wing when it's actually folded out. The turret on top, which is a... is it a man turret? It's a remote turret, of course it's a remote turret. Can basically change configuration from being on the top to being at the bottom on the rear, pointing backwards. So it's got a good fire arc and can change that fire arc to be supporting the front guns, or shooting at what it's running away from, or whatever's chasing it. So that's the normal Scorpius. Is this a... Oh, there's the EMP version, isn't there? The Antares. So there's also an EMP version of the Scorpius, and the co-pilot effectively is using that quantum dampener and EMP. So it's a quantum dampener, not the quantum snare, but quantum dampener and EMP device that you can use both separately effectively from the co-pilot. So you can't be using it from the pilot seat at the moment. Maybe that will change, but it's a two-seater for a reason. Very, very useful ship in a wing, because it's also effectively a reasonable heavy fighter, but it loses that turret. It loses that moving turret for that those other facilities instead. I think that's all that's in this first hall. We will go and find out where the other little side halls are before going underneath. I know what's in here. It's a room full of Auroras. So the Mantis as well? Huh. Weird. So you got the Mantis in both rooms. But the main feature here is the ridiculous amount of Auroras. Really, you only need to know about the Aurora MR, because it's the starter ship, and then moving on from that, you basically go to any other ship. I prefer the Mustang Alpha, but there are certainly lots of Aurora enjoyers, and let me give them a fair run. So the Aurora LN is the Legionnaire. It's a more combat version of the Aurora. Missiles on top, and it's basically got four weapons instead of two. Then you've got the MR, which is the sort of standard entry-level starter ship to start the game with. So no missiles are standard, only two weapons on the front. But it's got a little bit of cargo and stuff like that. Then we've got the Aurora LX. And this is the luxury version with leather seats. Let's open her up. I'm hoping that the Auroras get a little bit of an update. There are beds on them, so that is actually quite good for the longer range aspect of a ship. The idea you'll be able to use a bed to log out more readily, or not be as fatigued or something when you log back in. So literally the luxury version of the ship. I think it is pretty much just aesthetic. You've got the... What is this? The ES. Technically a cheaper version of the Aurora, which isn't sold as a starter pack. It's the sort of... It's referred to as the Pathfinder. I believe it is just a cheaper version of the Aurora. Is it supposed to actually be more explory? As far as I'm aware, the ES is an even more stripped down, cheaper version of the Aurora MR. And then you've got the CL, which is apparently the slight cargo version. But the thing with the Auroras is that maybe get an LN if you're going to go for an Aurora, just because it's got more weapon. but you're going to be moving on to an Avenger Titan or something else pretty quick. Let's go. I mean, and feel free to disagree with me. And you're going to see loads of these in-game, for sure. Like, NPCs going to be using them, civilians going to be using them, players will find loads of reasons to use them. They're going to be cheap and cheerful as well, so a load of people might use them for loads of different reasons, and more variety is better. It's just, all these models are pretty similar, right? All these ships are pretty similar. Have I crashed? No, I haven't. I didn't mean to insult the Auroras. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I completely zoned out as I was coming down the stairs and I did a lap. But I'll probably cut that out. So, downstairs, some vehicles. We have the Lynx and we have the Ursa Rover. So, Ursa Rover, it's been in the game for quite a while. It is basically a little moon rover. Some seats in the back. Gets you where you want to go. Nice and robust. Sort of all-terrain vehicle-ish. Yeah. Useful. Got a little gun on it. Pew, pew, pew. And then you've got the more luxury Lynx. Sort of higher tech. Got a little weapons rack there. Got a little seating area in the back. Much more sort of luxury. Cool for explorers. They can sort of look out the windows and stuff. It's really nice. But it is more for the exploration and enjoyment of that and the sort of comfort of the passengers on board. Do we have anything on the other side? We don't. Let's have a look at what's actually in the display hall, the Holo Suite. What we got here? Is that... I thought that was the Polaris to start with, but that would be the Perseus, right? It is the Perseus. Perseus, one of my favourite ships. It's sort of Corvette-sized, and it is a anti-large ship brawler. Sort of lots and lots of staying power with its big cannons on the top and bottom, and it just wants to get in medium to close range and brawl with other large ships, basically. Really like the idea of it. Sort of smashing through hammerheads and things like that. It's sort of bread and butter. Interesting to see how they fit into the sort of fleet dynamics with Polarises and things like that as well. What do we have here? Oh, the Zeus Mark II. So, there's a load of different Zeuses. There's the Mark, which is the Bounty Hunter version. There's the CL, which is the Clipper version. And there's the ES, which is this exploration version. Basically, they're kind of alternatives to maybe slightly larger versions of like the Cutlasses, and they're sort of medium-sized, sort of focused ships in one of those roles, sort of bounty hunting, exploration, or cargo. And I think a lot of people are really looking forward to them being in the game. They were relatively recently announced as a concept, and they should be in the game within the next 12 months. We've got the Galaxy here. Galaxy is basically again, Corvette-ish sized ship. Sort of like a little bit smaller, I believe. But it's modular is the idea. And you can have it set up as like a refinery, eventually a base builder. There's like a medical one. There's lots of potential ways of fitting the ship. And there'll be lots more in the future. I think a lot of people are going to be really excited for that. However, there's a lot of more focused role ships that are better, that aren't as modular, but they're better at a particular role, if you see what I mean. What are you? I can't see it from this angle, but we can actually just read. Oh, okay, this is why I don't know it so well. It's the Arrastra. So this is the newly announced concept deep space miner from CIG. Let's actually read the panel here. It's for heavy mining. With all the risks involved in mining, the universe's vast stores of valuable resources, Robert Space Industries want to make sure that choosing the right ship isn't one of them. The Arrastra industrial mining platform was concepted from the struts up with safety and efficiency in mind. Remote operator seats provide extra protection to your crew. The onboard refinery is ideal for a more profitable workflow, and the automated mineral storage pipeline effortlessly prepares your gathered resources for transfer, and the auxiliary garage allows for increased operational flexibility while on site. So we know it's got sort of like room for vehicles, so you can have sort of your Rock DSs or mining vehicles or whatever in there. It's got a load of mining lasers and some weapons which can move. They sort of like have different configurations so they can move up and down the ship. Yeah, it's going to be this large, again, Corvette-sized miner, or near Corvette-sized, that's in between the size of a mole and a... Hello. He's looking at me because I'm wearing a monocle as well. It's just... Oh. There you go, buddy. There you go. Nice to see. Nice to see other, you know, dumb concierge like myself. What else have we got? So we've got the Polaris here. Polaris, again, hoping to be in our hands within the next 12 months. It is basically a torpedo corvette. Lots of corvettes coming from RSI, or corvette-sized or similar-sized ships. Yeah, this is a combat corvette, torpedo sort of orientated. It's got a hangar bay that sort of opens up from the top. It's going to be a great mission runner. It's going to be a great mobile base. Very powerful ship. We saw some of it at CitizenCon, sort of represented by flying and blowing up an Idris with a load of torpedoes. And the last one today in the Holo Suite. What are you? What are you? Oh, so this is the Apollo. It's again, hard to see. So Apollo Triage and the Apollo Medivac. Basically, they are modular medical ships that you can set up as mobile clinics, effectively, and you can choose between lots of like size 3, tier 3, sort of like the lowest tier of medical bed, or a smaller amount of the tier 1 ones, or anything in between. So you basically have these 2 modules. You can have in each of the modules, you can have one tier 1, 2 tier 2s, or 3 tier 3s. So you could set up in any configuration you want of that. And tier 1 stuff allows you to treat pretty much any injury. Tier 2, some injuries. Tier 3, minor injuries. But tier 3 will also allow you to sort of stabilize patients at the very least. Someone's running around with a Wow Blast pistol or something. But yeah, I think a lot of people are excited to see the Medivac, or sorry, the Apollo at some point in the game. Let's go check out the website and see what's actually available and how much it all costs. So, what do we have for today from Robert Space Industries on the Robert Space Industries website? So we've got the new Arrastra. I'm going to take a look at this now. Let's have a quick look. So yeah, the idea is it is a big mobile mining operation. You can have all of these different lasers working together, and they have sort of different configurations they can move around on the hull of the ship. And one of them sort of like passes through the center of the ship. It's supposed to be fully self-sufficient, which is great to hear. It's got its own onboard refinery. It's 3 independently operated size 3 mining turrets. So they're quite big mining turrets as well. I believe that is larger. And they also have some defenses as well in the forms of turrets, 3 remote lasers, 1 tractor beam. So it's got a tractor beam as well, which is very useful to have a separate tractor beam, onboard refinery, 64 SCU of cargo space. Can hold 2 small vehicles, so that could be for cargo, that could be for doing ground-based mining. So 3 size 3 remote turrets. Is that assumedly in addition to the mining turrets, right? An array of 24 missiles can be used as defensive measures. So does it have its own set of pew-pews as well? Let's read the full tech specs. Let's do that. 3 remote turrets. Although it does say 4 size 3. Is that... I'm a bit confused by the 3 size 3 remote turrets and then the 4 times size 3. A little bit confused by that, but yeah, it's got at least a reasonable amount of remote turret armament. So you can be using those remote mining lasers or those remote turrets for sure. So the RSI Arrastra, I said it was going to be between sort of $400 and $600, and it has fallen within that sort of category. It's unfortunately on the higher end of that. I was hoping it would be significantly more on the lower end, at $575, and that is pretty expensive in my book. But obviously you will be able to get it in-game. It is in concept at the moment. It's not going to be in the game for a while. I would expect it within the next probably 12 months. Cloud Imperium are working very much on larger RSI ships at the moment. And you're going to see things like the Polaris in-game, and then the Perseus, and then the Galaxy, and potentially, relatively soon after that, the Arrastra, or potentially around the same time as some of them. Interested to know what you think of the Arrastra. In the magazine at the moment, they've got some more information on the Arrastra if you want to take a look at that. I think it's a very cool ship. I just think some of these ships are incredibly expensive. You've got the selection of Auroras, the CL $45, the ES $20. So yeah, the ES is a cheaper version. You're going to see loads of them in the verse used by lots of different people as shuttles, I suppose, and throwaway ships. Aurora LN $40, that combat version. The LX, the luxury version, $35. The MR $30. And then we've got the Constellation Andromeda, $240. Really quite cool ship. However, it's sort of competing with a lot of things. It is very multi-role, a sort of mixture of cargo and gun there. $315. The sort of more explorer-orientated Constellation Aquila should have a longer range than the other constellations and be better at sort of that general exploration gameplay. Constellation Phoenix, $350 there. I believe the Constellation Phoenix as well is limited hull. They've sold out this time. These don't always sell out in the first wave, especially. They don't. So if you do want to try and grab a Constellation Phoenix, you've got midnight and 8 a.m. UTC to attempt to get them as well. Yeah, $350. I think it's pretty expensive. You've got the Taurus, which went up in price not too long ago. $200 for that, the slightly more stripped down version of the Constellation. It is a special upgrade today as well, that you can upgrade one of your ships to that at a discounted price if you pay real money for it, effectively. The Galaxy should be in game in the not too distant future. I say that. Probably end of next year at the earliest, but we'll have to wait and see. A modular ship, $380 it starts, and then you're sort of putting these other modules in. So you've got the cargo module, the medbay module, the refinery module, and there will be more in the future. We know that there's going to be a base building module, for example, for it. The Lynx, $60. I'd get all ground vehicles in game. They are inexpensive pretty much to get in game. You've got the Mantis, sort of an interdictor. It's sort of pulling ships out of quantum, preventing them going into quantum. $150. Really interesting ship. Obviously, some ships do some of its function. Got the Orion. Now, Orion is this super heavy mining ship. It's not going to be able to land on planets. It's going to be strip mining at a very big scale. Very different beast than the other mining ships. $650, very expensive. It's probably going to go up closer to $800 before its release, in my opinion. But it's going to be a while before it's in game, a long while, in my opinion. You've got the Perseus, $675. It is seen as a frigate. It's Corvette-sized at best. That's a mistake, or they've redefined what a frigate is. So it's Corvette-sized at best, but it's that sort of brawler, very expensive, $675. Hopefully, not going to be too long to wait before it's in our hands, though. It is one of my favourite ships, and I love that picture. So there's big guns on the top and bottom. It's got a lot of stamina. $750, the Polaris. That is a Corvette. It's smaller than the Polaris, isn't it? So yeah, you've got the Polaris, torpedo Corvette. Definitely very much a ship of war. Got room for a fighter, or sort of medium fighter, heavy fighter potentially on board as well. Good amount of cargo. Very solid combat, but multi-role ship. You've got the Scorpius, heavy fighter, $240. I do like it as an X-wing. I think it's cool. And then you've got the Antares, $230, which basically goes, I'm a heavy fighter, but also I've got that extra utility with the EMP and the dampener. You've got the as a rover. So $50, I think it's pretty expensive for that. The Apollo Medivac, $275 for that modular Apollo. And then you've got the Triage, $250, which is the one I would recommend. And yeah, back to the Arrastra. So Constellation, Taurus, Warbond, not an awful idea. If you're into that sort of thing, there are lots of other cool ships at that sort of size with like the Mercury Star and the Corsair, things like that now. RSI Complete Pack, incredibly expensive. If you are interested in it, though, you can grab it. And tomorrow, we've got the Best in Show starts. So you'll see the Ship Showdown ships with those skins and some interesting stuff in the Expo Hall for sure. I'm really interested to know, are you going to be picking yourself up an Arrastra? And what do you think of its price? I think incredibly expensive, especially seeing it's going to go up in price more by the time it's flyable. But I suppose that they do, it probably won't be too long before it's actually in our hands. Sort of like within a couple of years, I would expect. Sort of have to wait and see though. But yeah, are you interested in the Arrastra? Are you picking yourself up anything from RSI today? Have you bought anything during the IAE at all? Are you excited for the rest of the IAE and renting other stuff out during the finale or picking something up during the Best in Show? Whatever your thoughts or your questions, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below.
What is best in life? To crush your enemies, to see them driven before you, and to hear the lamentations of their women? No, of course not, it's NordVPN. I never saw Conan the Barbarian checking his bank balance and then watching some cool shows on Netflix, all while protecting his privacy and being super secure. To be honest, I can't even remember Conan wearing a shirt. Silly Conan. And now, a big old snake god's got your internet history. Good job. Don't be a Conan the Barbarian. Check out NordVPN. Links below for powerful discounts too. Do you like using your eye holes for extra immersion in Star Citizen and help aim and do some cool stuff? Well, you can with Tobii Eye Tracker 5, which is on sale at the moment. This gives you native high-precision head and eye tracking in Star Citizen. Very cool for general immersion, for combat both in ship or on foot. They are absolutely fantastic pieces of kit, and both Zin and I have one. Use the links below to grab one or to find out more. Every month we've been giving away a ship for Star Citizen, but for November, to celebrate the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo 2953, we are giving away a load of different ships, each to a different person. The Avenger Titan, the Drake Cutter, the C-8X Pisces, the Mustang Alpha, and the Nomad. All great starter ships, but also useful for any fleet. They all come with a game package and lifetime insurance. That's all you need to start playing Star Citizen. That's 5 prizes and 5 chances to win. Just comment on any of my videos made during November to be in for a chance of winning. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that goes the extra mile in supporting the channel via Patreon or the join button under my videos and then becoming a channel member. Please consider joining those fabulous people as well. It allows us to make daily content for Star Citizen and Squadron 42, delving into all the news, drama, development info, and gameplay that these games have to offer. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the verse.